Newcastle United 2.
Yeah, despite a definite penalty not being given to Newcastle when it was 0-0, Manchester United managed to win 3-2 last night. Useless defending, lads. Sort it out at the back. And do you know what, though? Just very quickly, Rory. I spoke to Lewis Hall earlier this week, and I said to him in the interview, I was like, he scored a cracker in the League Cup earlier this season, and I said to him, I want you to go there and score another cracker. And it's the first time, when it went in, it's the first time I was like, that was down to me.
You had an impact. You actually had an impact on the Premier League finish of your football team.
In a Premier League game.
Effectively, Eddie Howe owes you. Eddie Howe owes you something.
Eddie, if you're listening, I'm up for it. You know, I'll get the fake tan out and I'll be your assistant next year.
You needed him to do a particular celebration. You needed to say, mate, when you ping one in at Old Trafford, you need to do this.
Yeah, I'll do it next time.
Yeah. You'd be an icon. You'd be an icon on the Gallagate now.
Yeah. Anyway, after the game, Erik Ten Hag was in a very, very kind of rallying mood, wasn't he? Manchester United obviously kept their hopes of qualifying for Europe very much alive with that win last night. They're in contention for a Conference League spot. It's the race for 7th now on the final day. But after the game, on Erik Ten Hag's mind was that push for Europe when he addressed the fans on the pitch after the game.
On behalf of the players, staff, myself, I want to thank you all for the brilliant support during the season. As you know, it wasn't an easy season, but one thing remained constant, and that was the begging of you for the team. But the season is not over yet. First, we travel to Brighton, where we go for 3 points, and then we go to Wembley. And I promise you that those players will give everything, but then everything, to get that cup, to win the cup, and bring him to Old Trafford. We thank you. You are the best supporters in the world. Thank you.
By the way, some of the booing at the start, I think that was the Newcastle fans rather than the Manchester United fans.
It's Delia Ten Hag, isn't it? It is, isn't it?
Lesby Avenue.
It
Let's welcome in our resident Manchester United fan, Angelina Kelly. Angelina, did that inspire you, or like Rory says, was that Delia Ten Hag?
I really want to say it inspired me, but I wasn't feeling that confident. It didn't really do anything for me. To be totally honest. But I mean, the speech. We've talked off air about it. Like, people do speeches. Managers normally do a speech at the end every home game at Old Trafford anyway. So it's not like this miraculous thing that he did. I mean, what else could he have said? Do you know? I don't want to be too negative, but I'm kind of like, what else could he have said?
He could have said nothing and let the team do the talking on the pitch all season.
Yeah, true.
I don't think that he has to feel obliged. I have seen images, obviously, of Sir Alex Ferguson speaking to the fans. Is it a thing at Manchester United? Is this a thing that happens on the final day of the season?
Yeah.
The manager will have some words.
Yeah.
And it's their responsibility to do so.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a usual thing, really, is it? But given the situation around him as well, given the fact that his future's up, it was quite interesting. Someone else pointed out to me that he was wearing the full club attire last night. He was wearing the full suit for the final home league game of the season. He doesn't usually do that. I don't think did he even do that for the FA Cup final last season? I can't quite remember.
He does dress. He dresses correctly at a cup final.
Yeah,
he definitely does.
Yeah.
I take a lot of note for this. And Erik Ten Hag leads Manchester United perfectly in the fashion sense.
Good,
but that's potentially where the
one thing we can give him. Yes.
yeah, exactly.
But it did kind of feel, didn't it, like someone turning up for a job interview, didn't it? Because he knows that it's kind of on the line. Where do you see this situation? Firstly, as a fan, what do you want to happen? Do you want them to keep Erik Ten Hag?
That's really tough. What I want versus what I think will happen. Yeah. Do I look at him and think, I have confidence that you can take Manchester United to the position that they need to be? No, I don't. I think the main issue, and it's what most Man United fans are saying, who can actually come in and replace this man. I think that they will keep him. I think that they will give him another season. I think his contract's up until the end of next season, so I think that they will keep him. I think that they will give him a chance with these new names and faces that are coming into Manchester United. I don't think the FA Cup will save him, though. It didn't save Louis van Gaal. I don't think that winning an FA Cup is going to change the decision. I think it's more if they think we need to give him a chance under these new people. It's not, if he wins the FA Cup, we'll keep hold of him. Do you know what I mean?
Are you surprised that decision doesn't even seem to have been made yet by the higher-ups? You'd kind of think that, Ratcliffe coming in and all the new bodies that have come in the door at Manchester United, they might have made the choice whether they were going to go with their own man or maybe stick by now. But, this process has gone on and on and on. And Manchester United have had very poor results in that time. They've also had a few good results. I'm just not really sure why it is that it still seems undecided.
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange one. You would think that they would come out and maybe make some kind of statement. Maybe they're making him sweat. Maybe discussions have been had, that we're not aware of. It's a funny one, but I just think, they've got so much going on. There's so many things to get right. I do think it would have been better had they have come out and said, we do have faith in this manager, because he seems to have a lot of faith in himself, I will say. Like, the way that he spoke... He
could do after dinner speeches if he
was very confident, but at the same time with that speech, I don't really know what anyone else was expecting. He was going to come out and talk about the FA Cup and the players will give everything. And the only thing I will say is he didn't start making excuses. He did take some form of accountability of it's not been good. It's not like he said, we've been struggling with injuries or blah, blah, blah. He was very to the point with that. That's the one thing I took from it.
Yeah,
winning the FA Cup or not winning the FA Cup, wouldn't it be just madness to stick with him either way, Angelina?
I get where you're coming from. My thing is, who do you bring in?
Thomas Tuchel?
Surely Thomas Tuchel's an upgrade on Erik Ten Hag.
But regardless, would it be fair to argue that anyone is an upgrade because it isn't Ten Hag? If you believe that it's gone stale with Ten Hag.
Well, what about the other names that have been linked? Gareth Southgate, who, by the way, is going to be managing England this summer, no matter how far they get in that tournament. So he's not going to. If they then announced him as the new manager, what's he got? A month or so.
No, you're right. The only thing that Gareth Southgate has over Ten Hag is that he isn't Ten Hag. And if Ten Hag has burned a lot of bridges with certain players, if it has just gone stale in the dressing room under Ten Hag, simply not being Ten Hag is an elevation, isn't it?
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that, definitely. I just feel that, and this is just from speaking to fans, other fans, this merry-go-round of new managers, I think there's no guarantees. With everything else that's going on at Man United, there are no guarantees that a Thomas Tuchel coming in or a Gareth Southgate will be able to get it right. Do you give this guy another season with these new people and see what he can do?
Is that what puts you off Thomas Tuchel out of interest? Because, he's a short-term manager, isn't he? Let's be honest. We've seen it in the last few clubs. He always falls out with them and eventually it comes to an end. But tactically, he's clearly better than Erik Ten Hag.
Yeah,
I know he hasn't had the best season at Bayern.
No, he's clearly better than Ten Hag, and he's clearly the jewel in the crown of the shortlist as well. If you look at it strictly through the lens of footballing managerial ability, but it's a bigger job than that, isn't it?
That's it, and he is known for being, kind of bull in a china shop, saying, I want things done my way. I want to be respected. I want the recruitment that I want. All these different things, and with all these new faces coming in, are they actually, is Sir Jim Ratcliffe going to be like, right, okay, there you go, you crack on with that, or how is the recruitment going to be handled? Because I don't think they can risk, giving it to a manager like they did with Ten Hag, and the next Anthony coming in or something.
There's another major reason here that I'm looking at with regard to Thomas Tuchel that I think should be a bit of a red flag for Manchester United. Manchester United presumably want a manager for the long haul, long term.
This is the thing, yeah.
Have you seen how the diminishing effect of Thomas Tuchel?
Shorter and shorter.
His first managerial job was 5 years.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit shorter every single stint until this one, which is 8 months.
But who is? Because you just said there, Rory, that keeping Erik Ten Hag is complete madness. So if you're not going to bring in Tuchel either, who are they going to bring in?
Can I just ask a question? Because I think, particularly to get Angelina's thoughts on this, I'm just going to ask it. So don't go mad at me, Ollie. I know what I'm doing.
You sure?
I totally concede that Gareth Southgate has limitations as a manager. But I think what we also have to acknowledge is that Gareth Southgate has done some very impressive things with England in terms of the unity, in terms of the harmony, in terms of the feeling around the camp, in terms of the dressing room. There are many attributes to Gareth Southgate. None of them, in my opinion, are his tactical ability, but he has done well with England in different metrics. On any level, does that appeal to you?
If I want someone to come in and like check on the players and make sure they're all getting along and stuff like that, then maybe. But regarding actually, and I know the pressure of England is absolutely huge. But Manchester United, it's not just a pressure, a month here, a month there. It's 24/7, that kind of pressure. And I don't know Gareth Southgate, but I don't look at him and think you can handle that pressure. Can he maybe sort some of the players out, like the harmony and things that you spoke about with England? 100%, that'd be great if he could do that. But do I look at him and think, if I'm walking into a Manchester derby with Gareth Southgate as my manager, do I think he's going to be able to have the tactics to win that game, make the kind of changes that aren't in the 89th minute?
Okay, but what about not just that circumstance then? Like that extreme example that you've just put out there, coming up against Pep Guardiola, possibly, arguably the best tactician to have ever lived. Yeah, you're right, Southgate can't compete. But that's once, isn't it? That's twice a season. Twice a season he comes up against...
But the point is...
Manchester United aren't competing on that level anyway.
No, but that's the point. The next manager needs to get them, within the next 2 seasons, to a stage where they are trying to compete for that. So bringing in Gareth Southgate, there's almost no point. And arguably, the reason why I would push Thomas Tuchel, even though he's short-term, is because, like you said earlier, he's the jewel in the crown of the managers that are out there.
But is it as simple as science?
There's a dearth of good managers.
Is it as simple as science? Is it as simple as the only metric to consider when replacing a manager is who is the best football manager? So, for example, Antonio Conte, one of the greatest managers Chelsea have ever had. But it's not a million miles away from Antonio flew over the cuckoo's nest, is it? It goes wild for him. Like, it goes mental. I would say stay clear, regardless of his managerial ability. On some level, I think stay clear, Manchester United, with regard to Conte.
Yeah, no, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah.
Just finally, Bruno Fernandes has been linked with a move away as well. But I think in his interview after the game, he was actually kind of rebuffing that a bit. Would you like to see him stay at the club? Is he, how important is he to Manchester United going forward?
I know that a lot of outsiders looking in have got a lot to say about Bruno Fernandes, about the way that he behaves. I don't co-sign on a lot of it either. But for me... do I sometimes question if he's the right captain? Of course, but like the game last night, he really goes for it. You can tell that he really does. He's one of the few that understands what it means to play for Manchester United. I think that he's ambitious. I think he really shows on the pitch. Sometimes he's not at his best, I admit, but 9 times out of 10, you see his desire and you see the fact that he wants the ball, he wants to try and create chances. It might not always happen, but I think that desire that he has is extremely key. So yeah, personally, I'm happy that he's going to be staying at the club, because when Bruno Fernandes is good, he's extremely good for Manchester United.
And I think you're right, Angelina, because I think if Manchester United can actually bring in some bodies who are fairly decent at football, and you put them in with Fernandes, you're going to see a better Bruno Fernandes as well. Angelina, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Angelina Kelly, our resident Manchester United fan.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.